So we've seen all the craziness that's been happening with Ape Coin, which is the new cryptocurrency that is tied to the Ape ecosystem. Ape Foundation is known for their projects Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is where you see people like Jimmy Fallon, Paris Hilton, Steph Curry have their profile pictures of these apes. If you're not in the NFT community, everyone just wonders why are people paying this much money. But the utility is something that Yuga Labs is going to be building into this ecosystem. ApeCoin is going to give you governance into ApeDAO, which is the DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. And they were vying at first between CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club of what is going to be the number one. And then Yuga Labs bought up CryptoPunks, or the company that owned CryptoPunks. So there is no number two right now. What is going to happen is you want to go into these markets looking for who's going to be the clear number one. At this point, it looks like it's going to be Larva Labs because every other project is trying to vie for number two. There is such a gap between people trying to get to number two and to number one. So getting in early, getting some exposure into this project is going to be something that people are going to want to look to get into. So with Ape Token, this is the cheapest way to get exposure rather than buying any of the underlying NFTs, where even the underlying NFTs at the cheapest are still a lot of ETH, nearing $10,000 on the lower end. And when you look at flagship product, Bored Ape Yacht Club, that's over 100 ETH at this point, almost $300,000. The thing that happened with this, if you did own one of those NFTs, especially Bored Ape Yacht Club, they got nearly 10,000 tokens. Right now, it's trading at about $12. Let's just round up $10,000. That's $120,000 for having Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is one of the things that I regret because I wanted to keep. Actually, I don't regret this. Part of me regrets it a little bit, but I wanted to have the liquid to be able to trade. But now, being able to have exposure into the community that's a lot more liquid, I'll probably get an ape in the future, but right now I want to continue trading. But having Ape Token is one of those ways to get exposure to the community, because there's a lot of people, I've seen a lot of talk about people saying this could become the cryptocurrency utility token of the NFT space. Aside from Ethereum, developers are already using it. There's probably going to be other ways of using ApeCoin to buy other projects. We'll see if that actually happens, if there's adoption there. My underlying thought is that there could be, this token has some ways to go up, but right now things are hyped and I want to look for it to continue and go back to levels before this. I bought early on around 850. Even at 850, I thought that that was a little too high because I've been part of token launch events. I used to trade exclusive coins and token launch events and have done extremely well because you see this crazy 2 to 10x, 100x. I've seen that, but I was not a part of that because it was pre-sale people only. And then a crazy dump afterwards. The thing about this is that there was a crazy pump, but the dump afterwards was not that big. If anything, it's stabilizing around $12. From my thoughts of looking at this, one of the reasons why this has kept up is not only because the valuation of Yuga Labs was reportedly around $5 billion. Before the CryptoPunks acquisition and before the Meebits acquisition, which are two huge projects, CryptoPunks being one or two, whoever you're debating, and then Meebits another huge blue chip project, all underneath the umbrella. And if you know anything about big blue chip companies, one of the biggest things that they do is start to acquire other competitors and start to consolidate and become even bigger. Looking at all of this, the initial token launch that was available was relatively small compared to what is going to be coming. So which is really nice. There's a lockup for the team, there's a lockup for some of their donations, there's a lockup for the treasury. And then you'll start to see more of the supply get diluted when all of these start to come in from the different areas. So what that means is it gets unlocked. Now these investors, these founders, the charity, which they probably did for tax purposes, to save on tax purposes, and probably out of the kindness of their hearts, I don't know, but they probably also did it on top of that to be able to save money on tax purposes. Is with all of those different things, now you get to see there's potential dumps happening. This was what people talk about with tokenomics and knowing the token unlocks. When the token unlocks happens, usually, not always, there is a buying opportunity at that point. Where is Ape Coin going to be from here to there? And then is the dip from here worth buying at that point or this point? I don't know. The only thing that I do know is that when ETH and Bitcoin tank hard, we go into the next huge crash, 50%, 60%, 70%. We've seen close to 50%. All underlying cryptocurrencies will crash significantly, anywhere from 50 to 90%. My own portfolio, when I was trading altcoins heavily, micro cap, high risk altcoins, returns are massive, but the losses were intense. Was you can find great entries when ETH, Bitcoin crash, and then that crashes the whole entire market by significantly more. These are different times for looking for buying opportunities. So if you miss Ape Coin, not financial advice, but this is what I'm going to be doing. I did get on Ape Coin early. I'm dollar cost averaging in because I want more exposure into NFTs, into the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem. I use Voyager. I was actually very surprised that Voyager was one of the exchanges that released early. Yuga Labs has me extremely bullish with the different value that they've been constantly providing to their community, and this coordinated token drop was amazing. You saw it on Binance US, Gemini, Voyager. You saw it on most major exchanges. According to this valuation, according to CoinGecko, we're at 1310. ApeCoin's up 57%, and it's number 70. Market cap according to CoinGecko is about 1.6 billion. If we go with a Yuga Labs valuation, which this is a little bit different because it gives you governance into the Ape DAO, and it's not really ownership into Yuga Labs or being able to influence Yuga Labs. It's to be able to be part of the decentralized organization, which is separate from Yuga Labs, but it'll help drive decision and most likely influence Yuga Labs in terms of what the decentralized organization is going to do. But at the end of the day, is this organization gonna be able to tell Yuga Labs what to do? No. But Yuga Labs has been delivering consistently. They've been doing some amazing stuff compared to a lot of the other projects. There is no comparison right now. Instead of buying a Bored Ape Yacht Club, or Mutant Ape Yacht Club, or one of the Kennel NFTs, this is one of the ways to get in and get exposure if you're not in the NFT space specifically, or if you want some exposure to NFTs without having to worry about trading NFTs. This is one of the reasons why I'm actually bullish on Ape Coin for the long run, is because there is no other cryptocurrency token tied to the NFT space for people who do not want to participate but still want exposure and some type of investment in NFTs. This is more liquid, easier to sell, and you have the ability to use this for future utility if you choose, and if not, it doesn't matter. When you look at the top 70, ApeCoin is 71. You look at the top 70, is ApeCoin delivering more than these different projects? If you believe that, where do you place them in terms of all of these different companies and all of these different projects on delivery? We do have culture-driven projects like Shiba Inu, like Dogecoin, that are more based on the community and the culture and the memeability of those communities, of why they're there. And that's important to note, is that there's not only This is not only exposure to NFT community, but this is also culture community driven. As we can see, Bored Ape Yacht Club, they're just a diamond hand hodl for life community. Not all of them. There's definitely a lot of people who flip them, but as a whole, compared to the rest of the NFT space, a lot of people are holding their apes for a longer period of time, especially when they get so much value from holding the mutants, the vials, to these airdrops, and then games, merch, and we'll see where they go from here. They're the market leader, and having exposure to the market leader as they grow is great when you can start to identify them early. Will they be the market leader moving forward 5 to 10 years from now? I don't know. But from here, what I'll be looking for are entries when things are not hype. Could it potentially go higher from here and I miss an entry in? Yes, that's happened to me multiple times, but what has also happened to me is buying into the hype, which means you buy at the top, and then when it dumps, you sell at the bottom because you're panicking and you need to cut your losses. I prefer to get into projects when the hype is died down, or when it's early before everybody else, and then make moves, make plays that are related when things get boring, things dip, and when people are panicking. People are not panicking. There's no blood in the streets. One of the famous investors was talked about buy when there's blood in the streets. As horrible as that phrase sounds, what it means is be fearful when people are greedy, be greedy when people are fearful, which is another investing quote, which is from Warren Buffett. One of the things I'm going to be looking into as well and experimenting with is contributing to a liquidity pool on a decentralized exchange, mainly Uniswap. I'm going to contribute a certain amount of Ape Coin and a certain amount of ETH, DAI, or USDC, some type of crypto, and then try to make money on fees. I'm going to go on Uniswap v3, have a tight range, and then I'm going to be monitoring. I've done LPs in the past. As a warning, this is something you should not do until you research this, because there's a lot of things that could screw you over, especially something called impermanent loss. It's a lot more complicated for me to explain it to here, but basically when the ratio and the value of the different current cryptocurrencies that you're holding, ApeCoin, ETH, let's say, if ETH goes up dramatically in price and the ratio of what ApeCoin was valued when you put it in does not match that, there has to be, you'll lose ETH and you'll gain more ApeCoin. If you didn't want to gain more ApeCoin, you're potentially losing money on the value that is lost. And then say ApeCoin decides to tank, then the value of your liquidity pool will continue to go down. That is an oversimplification of something that is very complicated. So you may be gaining fees, but you could be losing value on the overall equity valuation of the assets that you put in. So those are all things you have to be aware of, you have to monitor, and it's very complicated for me to go in. And I'm not an expert at this. I just lost money doing it. So I understand how big the risk is with the potential of gaining fees on a liquidity pool. Just because you're seeing all of these different people make a lot of money. This is Dingling's earnings from his LP from ApeCoin. He provided about $7 million in liquidity, and he has $1.3 million in unclaimed fees. So that is the power of liquidity pools with hype projects when you can get in early and you understand LP. This is something that's being talked about inside MVHQ right now. But if you do not understand how to do this, please research, because it's very complicated and it's very easy to lose money. So those are my thoughts on ApeCoin and what's currently happening and what I'm going to be doing moving forward. I'm just going to be setting recurring buys on ApeCoin just to get more exposure to it. So regardless of if I'm buying high, if I'm buying low, I'm just going to leave that on and place it on the daily. You can do this, you can dollar cost average on any time frame. Just when I've back tested multiple assets, usually dollar cost averaging daily saves you more, get you better entries than doing it weekly, monthly. I'm going to be buying in Voyager because I like the UI, it's simple. So I'm just going to set a simple recurring buy on Voyager and just let myself dollar cost average until I increase my exposure into this project. How much that is, I don't really know yet. I have to go back and do my numbers, but I feel comfortable just dollar cost averaging. I am in NFTs heavily, so I can trade out of Voyager and trade that into one of my decentralized wallets, use it for future NFT stuff as well. So if you want $25 and free Bitcoin, use my referral link for Voyager below. Let me know what you think about Ape Coin. Will this fuel a bull market? Are we gonna see some pumps right now and the liquidity is gonna flow back into the market? Or are you bearish on Ape Coin and you just think this is going to be going down and these levels are unsustainable? I'd love to hear what you think. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Like the video if you liked the video. And as always, take care, talk soon, and